Hello, everyone. With election night rapidly closing in, today we're going to be looking simply at what is the best possible outcome for Donald Trump in this election. So, not only can he win this election, but what is the absolute best possibility for Donald Trump in this election? In my next video, I'll be doing the same thing for Kamala Harris. What is Kamala Harris's best possible case scenario? The reason I'm doing this is for one, we just don't have a lot of changes, but we do have some. I did notice some important changes. I noticed that Georgia is now trending towards Harris by like 0.1%, and Donald Trump has once again caught up in Pennsylvania. So I will probably in a couple days make a newest poll update and base my map off of that. I know you guys weren't all that crazy about that video whenever I did that, but I'll make another one and I'll be, you know, more simple about it, if you will, more neutral about it, and then I'll make less comments basically when I make the video. But then after that, gonna give it like 2 more days. If there's more updates, I will then make another polling average video. We just don't have a lot of different changes right now. There are some, but I'm just gonna wait for there to be more changes before making another average video, another polling average video. So just for today, we're just for at the moment we're gonna get through 2 videos. This one's gonna be Donald Trump's best case scenario. The next one's gonna be Kamala Harris's best case scenario. Then in like 2 days I'll do a newest poll update. Then like another 2 days I'll do a polling average video. So that's the plan for the next 4 videos, starting with this one basically. So instead of looking at the current election polls and all that, we're gonna be looking at the historical election and just see for Donald Trump what is the best possible outcome that he can hope for. So starting off, the most obvious thing we can do is give him the states that he probably will win, and the most obvious one we can think of are Arizona, North Carolina, and Georgia. Now, I did just say that Harris is leading in the polling averages by 0.1% because I just noticed it right now. Nevertheless, I personally feel that Georgia is going to go Donald Trump this time. I feel like Harris is not going to get the same results as Joe Biden did. Not saying she can't win. According to the polling averages right now, well, in my last video, according to the polling averages, she was the favorite to win by with 270 exactly. So I'm just saying. So, but at the same time, Georgia, Arizona, and North Carolina are the most obvious 3 states to go to Donald Trump at the moment. So after that, we have to look. We will then look at Nevada. Now, Nevada, if we look at 2020 and 2016, he lost Nevada both times. So he has not flipped that state yet. That is not a state that he has won. The other states he has won before, but not Nevada. But I personally think that Nevada. Look how close it was. It was within that 5 to 0.1% range. So Nevada was close both times, even in 2020 when Donald Trump was just not in a good position. He's definitely in a much better position now with the competition that he has, but in the country's in a much different state. So overall, Donald Trump is in a better position. It's a much more even playing field compared to 2020 when it was pretty not going in his favor. Nevertheless, Nevada was close both times. So, like based off of that, I think it's fair to say that in a best case scenario for Donald Trump, he can win the state of Nevada. So now we can look at the states, starting with Pennsylvania. I personally, no, actually, let's start with Wisconsin. If you look at Wisconsin historically in the last 2 elections in 2020, you can see it was close, but in 2016 it actually did go to Donald Trump. Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania did go to Donald Trump, but in 2020, Wisconsin was the closest out of the 3 states on the blue wall to still go to Donald Trump. Wisconsin almost went Donald Trump again. It was under 1%. It was very close, but by a slim margin, Biden did win Wisconsin. But it was the closest state out of the 3 blue wall states to almost go to Donald Trump again. So knowing that, we can say that in a best case scenario, he can win the state of Wisconsin. We'll go back to Michigan and Pennsylvania for just a second. I also just want to turn to Nebraska real quick. If we look at here, I didn't even know about this. But we look at 2016. He won by a tilt margin. Did win the full state of Nebraska. You can see here. This district is red, so he did win for all 5 electoral votes from the state. So with that, we can give him the full state of Nebraska. Unless I'm reading that wrong. No, that's tilt red. That's the right color. Yeah. So looking at just that right there, we can say that he does have a chance of winning the full state of Nebraska. It's very close. Second district is a very close, so that he can possibly win it. Let's go to Maine. Now, right off the bat, there's no way Donald Trump is going to be able to win the first district of Maine. It's just not going to happen. Kamala Harris is up by like 20 or 30% in the first district of Maine, so it's just not going to happen. The second district, however, is the opposite. It will definitely go to Donald Trump. The state as a whole, put it all together with two electoral votes, is still expected to go to Kamala Harris. But depending on the voter turnout, we just don't know how it's quite going to happen. But depending on the voter turnout, there is a chance that Donald Trump could win the state as a whole, but still lose the first district. It just depends on it will just depend on the voter turnout. If it turns out in his favor, then he absolutely can win the state as a whole in the two electoral votes, and still lose the first district. We'll have to see what happens, but it absolutely can happen. Going over to Michigan, out of all the states that I've currently given Donald Trump, I feel like Michigan is the least likely to go to Donald Trump this time. But he did win in 2016. He did win it. Out of Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, and North Carolina, oh, and Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. So out of all those states, I think Michigan is the least likely one to go to Donald Trump. It's starting to trend decently towards Kamala Harris by a decent sized margin. Nevertheless, he, in a best case scenario, can absolutely win the state. He did win it before, and here is a chance. It's not a majority chance, but there is a chance that he can win that state. So looking at that, we now of course go to Pennsylvania. Out of the three blue wall states, Pennsylvania will probably be a second place. If it does go to Donald Trump, Wisconsin will probably be the heaviest, followed by Pennsylvania. Then Michigan will be last. Michigan will probably be the closest if it does go Donald Trump. So looking at this, we can give if we did Donald Trump all the states that weren't already filled in plus Maine as a whole and the second district of Nebraska, that will give Donald Trump 315 electoral votes and obviously the win. So, but there is a few more things here. That's actually not all the battleground states. There's three. Let's look at three more states now. And that's Minnesota, Virginia, New Hampshire. Now, the reason I look at these states is that before Biden dropped out, those three states were actually predicted to go to Donald Trump. They flipped to Donald Trump in the polling averages before Biden dropped out. When he dropped out, Kamala Harris was able to pull him back under her side in the polling averages. But the fact that those three states flipped Donald Trump, even temporarily, is a big deal. Because especially Virginia, which has been Democratic for, I believe, since 2008, it's gone Democratic. So, here's a big one: Minnesota. Can Donald Trump really win Minnesota? Because let's just take a look at this. Donald Trump to win Minnesota, that would mean Minnesota has not gone red since I believe 1970 something. Let's just take a closer look at it. Yeah, even look at this. 1984. Look how red the map is, and then look at Minnesota. It still went blue. So just pointing that out there. And then Minnesota went red in 1972. In 1972 was the last time Minnesota went red. And since then, it has been blue every single election. That's a long time. That's 52 years of blue for Minnesota. But I can say that because he was leading the polling averages temporarily, and because of the fact that in 2016, look how close it was. He almost won the state. I can't look at it exactly with this map, but I remember like exactly the percent. It was like 1.2%. It was very close for a state like that. So he absolutely has a chance to win this state. And if he does, that would be a major deal because it would literally be a state that has not gone blue for that long, suddenly going blue again. Or sorry, suddenly turning red again. So if he does that, that would be a major political victory for Donald Trump and a major shock in general. But because he did lead in the polling averages temporarily, and it was so close to 2016, it's fair to say that if we had to pick a state that he has a chance of winning, of flipping red, that he did not flip red before, it would be Minnesota. It would be one of the ones that comes to mind. Now let's look at New Hampshire. New Hampshire, out of all the New England states, definitely is one of the ones that has a chance of going Republican. Last time it went Republican was in 2000 was in the year 2000, but you can see here it is close. So if we go look at that, we can see how close it has been. Look at all the solid blue around New Hampshire, but you can see how close New Hampshire itself is. And in 2016, it was very close. Donald Trump did almost win New Hampshire. So you can say here it's a small state, only 4 electoral votes. Nevertheless, it is a state that Donald Trump can win. He can win the state of New Hampshire by a slim margin. Now let's look at Virginia. This would be a big one. If Virginia can somehow go Republican, it would basically call the election there. Virginia, I think usually Virginia gets called fairly early in the election night. Not super early, but it usually gets called decently early. And if Donald Trump can win the election, it would greatly, or sorry, if he can win Virginia, it would greatly narrow Kamala Harris's chances or paths for victory. You see, last time Virginia went red was in 2004 with Bush, so that obviously helped him out a lot, and it will obviously help Donald Trump out if he can win that state. It's going to be close, but because he was leading the polling averages temporarily before Biden dropped out, that means that there is a chance that he can win Virginia by a slim margin. So with that we have now covered all of the swing states. We have covered the 3 states that Donald Trump had a chance of winning, or what actually was ahead in the polling averages before he dropped out. And we have also now covered the 2nd District of Nebraska and the state of Maine as a whole. And Donald Trump can possibly win all of those states. So now, looking at the map, is there any possible way Donald Trump can win anything else? Because now we are getting to like the really blue states. And no, I'm not going to say something crazy like, oh, well, he might win California. It's not going to happen. He's not going to win California. But one state that he can definitely flip by a minuscule chance, but he can, is Colorado. 2016, look how close Colorado was. Back then, it only had 9 electoral votes. Now it has 10, and it was within that tilt margin, that slight, small little margin, that tilt margin. So he will have a chance. And you see, it did go more blue later on. If we maybe you can look at it, if we go to Colorado. So Colorado right now is up by around 6.5%, but this poll was conducted a long time ago. And if we look at it, there should be an option here to look at previous elections. Yeah, here we go. So in 2020, the final results was at 13.5% went for Biden. So that's a strong margin. It went to Biden by a lot. But in 2016, by 4.9%. So that's a big difference. So considering the fact that Kamala Harris is in a worse position than Biden was 4 years ago, and Donald Trump is in a better position, and that he was able to bring Colorado within a slim margin, to bring it down to that small margin, it's very slim. But they're in a best case scenario for Donald Trump, he can flip the state of Colorado under his favor. And with that, we're getting down to like the small stuff, but there is still one more state that should be called out, and that is New Mexico. Is there really a chance Donald Trump is going to win this state? Probably not. But look at this trend here. I noticed this. 2008, New Mexico, solid blue state. No, it's just solid blue. Next election, you see it drops down to being, what is that, a tilt? No, sorry, a likely state. Then in 2016, it became a lean state. Then in 2020, it did go back to a likely. But for 3 elections, it went from solid to likely to lean. Then Biden, because of his much better position, was able to get the state back to where it was. But in general, Kamala Harris is appealing to Hispanic voters, but New Mexico is the only state in the country that has a Hispanic majority. But Donald Trump is also doing surprisingly well among the Hispanic population himself. He is doing shockingly well, which is a surprise, but it's true. So, considering that, and considering the state has trended less and less Democrat for 3 elections straight before 2020, means that there is a chance that he can absolutely win that state. But we're talking like a 1% chance, but in a best case scenario, he can win the state of New Mexico. And with that, we have just solid blue states on the map now. Can he win anything else? I have to say, even in a best case scenario, probably not. There's really no chance that a state like Rhode Island or New York, California is gonna go blue. It's really just not gonna happen. But maybe if you want to glance at it, you could say Oregon and Washington. But even then, I'm like, that's not gonna happen. He's not gonna win Oregon and Washington. In a best case scenario, an absolute top best case scenario for Donald Trump, I feel like this is what the election would look something like. He would be able to flip this. He would be able to win every single battleground state, flip the second district of Maine, take the state of second district of Nebraska, take the state of Maine. Yeah, he would take the state of Maine overall. He's not going to win the first district. That's not going to happen. But he will definitely win the second district. And if he gets enough voter turnout, we'll just have to see what happens. He can win the state as a whole, and then he'll win the whole state of Nebraska. He'll win all the battleground states. He'll flip the states of, and he'll be able to flip the states of Minnesota, Virginia, New Hampshire, and Colorado, New Mexico. Oh, and Nebraska or Nevada, I mean. So, and if I had to point out, like personally, what states, and if I had to call it what states I think have the apps have the best chance of flipping to Donald Trump, I would say Arizona, Georgia, obviously North Carolina. That's gonna go to Trump in my opinion. It's just no way that's gonna change. So basically start with the usual states: Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, and I think Wisconsin is, despite the polling averages, I think Wisconsin personally will go to Donald Trump because Wisconsin has kind of been the outlier recently of the blue wall. And I mean, all the states have because, of course, in 2016 he won all of them, but Wisconsin is the one he tends to do the best in. So Wisconsin is out of the blue wall states the best. Donald Trump has the highest chance of flipping Wisconsin. That's where he will probably do the best. Michigan, I don't think he can. I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't. Michigan is definitely the most liberal out of the three. Pennsylvania, he definitely can win Pennsylvania in my opinion. It could go either way. I think so. Basically, I think Michigan's gonna go Democrat. It's not gonna go to Trump in my opinion. Wisconsin, I think, will go Republican. And Pennsylvania, I just don't know. I really don't know what the heck was that. Just looking at that, that's all. That's just me talking personally. I just thought I'd put it out there. That's what I think. But again, that's obviously what I think, and what's actually going to happen is not necessarily real. And if that happens, he would basically win every single state that's not solidly blue. I mean, he would. He would win every state that is not already a solid blue state. And realistically, I just don't think I can flip anything else on this map to Donald Trump. I don't think I can put anything. I can't put. I could, if you really want to glance at it, give him Washington and Oregon, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Illinois is gonna be solidly blue. New York might go likely, but it's not going to go Donald Trump. There's just no way. And all these other states up here in the north, in New England, are all solidly blue. They're all, for the most part. So a few might be likely, but they're pretty solidly blue. Like we're talking, Maryland is like 25%, 22% for Kamala Harris. It's just not going to flip. Realistically, it would be something out of a dream. The Democrats would just have to not vote in Maryland. They just have to be like, oh, I don't feel like voting for some reason. That's the only way Donald Trump can win any of these other states. California, that's just a pipe dream. Donald Trump cannot possibly win California. Well, that's gonna be it for this possible scenario for a best case scenario for Donald Trump. But this is what it would look like if Donald Trump was to not only win the election, but was to actually do the absolute best that he possibly could. Realistically, it would look like this. The map would look something like this. In my next video, guys, I will be doing the same thing for Kamala Harris. So Kamala Harris will be looking at what is her best case scenario for Kamala Harris and see what can she possibly do at her absolute best. That'll be the next video. That'll come out like maybe 2 more days. So look forward to that, guys. If you guys want to see what Kamala Harris' best case scenario is, come back in about 2 days. I'll have that video out. That's gonna be all for today, guys. I'll see you guys next time. Make sure you like and subscribe, hit that notification, leave a comment. It helps out the channel a lot. And you can undo it anytime you want. Totally free. No problem at all. Just hit that button and things will improve on the channel. That's all, guys. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.